right, my friends, we have a really special episode of Mobile Mix today. We're going to mix things up a little bit, and I get to bring on a guest that has been a big influence in the creation of Mobile Mixed and someone that I constantly look to for both inspiration and really building Mobile Mix as an online business, and that is Pat Flynne of smartpassiveincome.com. Pat is an awesome guy. We're wearing almost the same shirt today, and he is super interesting in that he's created a business and, more importantly, an enjoyable life for himself via passive income. And he documents all of that on his site and his blog, smartpassiveincome.com, where he also has a podcast. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I listen to it all the time. And he shares reports about his income, where the income comes from, and provides valuable insights and tips on how to build your own online business. So you're probably asking, Greg, what the heck does this have to do with mobile? Well, what Pat doesn't get to talk about very often is his smartphone app business. And that's called Loler Apps. That's LOLER apps.com, and it's essentially Laugh Out Louder. It's an app company that creates entertainment-style apps, games, things like Baby Maker, Traffic Light Changer, some really interesting apps. And he's going to join us today to talk about kind of how that business, or how the app business kind of plays into his passive income stream, some of the results from specific apps, his experience outsourcing development of these apps, and kind of what some of these things cost for him to create, and then kind of the income generated by those apps. But more importantly, we talk about how mobile plays a part in his be everywhere strategy. He's currently writing a book about how to be everywhere. He has a podcast, he blogs, he's on Twitter, Facebook. He's very communicates very often with his email list. He has this app business. He owns two other kind of microsites that are generating income passively for him. So how does mobile now play a part in his business? How does it help him engage with his community in a different way, or even tap into a different community, which I think is super important for anyone that's creating content out there. Most likely people are consuming it via their mobile device. So we talk about all these things today, and without further ado, I mean, I'm so happy to have Pat on the show. He's a great guy, and super stoked to have him talk about his experience both with smartpassiveincome.com and the kind of integration of Loler apps. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this special episode of Mobile Mixed. Welcome everybody to Mobile Mixed. I am your host, Greg Hickman, and today we are joined by Pat Flynne from Smart Passive Income. How you doing, Pat?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with us. I think your story is super interesting, and everyone I've had on the show, we've been talking about mobile marketing strategy, which goes from apps to mobile websites to text message marketing, and we've met with a lot of specialists. And I thought your story is super interesting because not many people talk about your app business, which is called Loler Apps. So I kind of want to focus on that a little bit, but before we do that, can you kind of give a little bio on yourself? What do you do with Smart Passive Income, and a little bit about Loler Apps?
Sure, yeah, of course. Smart Passive Income, the blog. I also have a podcast now with about 2 million downloads, and a YouTube channel with almost 2 million downloads as well. But there, I just talk about all of the other businesses that I do, and I share everything. I mean, if you go there, you'll see really quickly that I'm pretty authentic and honest and upfront about everything, from things that I didn't do very well that I hope I can share so that other people don't do those mistakes. Right. Things that I do very well, or that have worked out the way that I had hoped, I share that too, so people who are interested in that particular kind of business, and I have all different kinds of businesses, they can see kind of what works and what doesn't. And also I share my income, exactly where all of it comes from. And just, it's a great community, and the reason I started the site really was because I had so much success in one particular business back in 2008, which I still have today, and it's pretty much running on autopilot. It's a site that I built to help people pass the LEED exam, which you probably don't know what it is, most of you watching this, but it's an exam in the architecture industry about green buildings and sustainable design and things like that. And so I had passed this test. I created a site to help me pass it, keeping track of my notes online, and that eventually turned into a six-figure business. After about 2 years making $200,000 a year from a little ebook and audio guide that I sold on that site, and again, a niche that a lot of you probably have never heard of before. So that's when I created Smart Passive Income blog, because I was like, man, this is awesome. I had no idea this was possible. I had actually gotten laid off from architecture, which gave me the time to do this lead site. And so I just wanted to share everything, and that's what I do. I don't sell anything on the site. I do have affiliate links for when I say, hey, if you want to follow this specific process, for example, this is where you could get hosting, and I would put an affiliate link for that. This is where you would get this. Some things might have affiliate links, some don't. But my main focus is just providing value to people, giving people the kind of step-by-step way to get to their goal, whatever that goal may be. Again, I have all different kinds of businesses, which I'll get to in a second, and just helping them along the way, and giving them encouragement, inspiring them, and that's kind of what I do. Now I have a number of different businesses that I run. That lead exam site is one of them. I have a security guard training site, which I know sounds very random, but I actually built that site publicly on the Smart Passive Income blog to show people how it's done, and now that site's making about $2,500 every month, purely on autopilot, which is pretty cool. I also have the iPhone app business, which we'll get into in a second. I'm writing a book right now, and gosh, it's just pretty crazy what's been going on.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm everywhere.
and I'm definitely an avid reader of the Smart Passive Income blog and listening to the podcast all the time, and primarily through the app, which we can talk about. But it seems like, I mean, just hearing you say all those things, for talking about how much like the income is coming in, passively and whatnot, you're clearly doing a lot of things on a day-to-day basis that, obviously help keep that thing, rolling, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the work I do today is for tomorrow. For example, I'm putting stuff into place now, working on projects that I know could potentially pay me back later.
Right.
I have businesses in place now that have been up for 2-3 years that I only touch maybe 1 or 2 hours a month, just to make sure things are running smooth, to optimize things. Maybe I'll work on something for an hour because I'm optimizing a landing page, for example. Right. So I spend an hour creating that test and then let it sit for a month and see what happens, and then go from there. Optimizing ad placements and all those sorts of things. So a lot of the stuff that's making money for me right now is already there, and I'm not doing anything. I call that planting seeds. I'm just planting seeds. At the beginning you have to fertilize them, make sure that, provide care for them. But for a while they start to produce fruit for you later. A terrible analogy, but and so the stuff I'm doing now is for later, like writing this book and all the other projects I'm working on. My business partner and I, in the iPhone app company that I have, we're working on some new projects right now, which is pretty cool. That should hopefully pay off for us later. Yeah, I mean, it seems like I'm doing a lot, but I'm actually not. The work I do is not it's not. I could stop working and continue to make money for months. I know, but I like to make sure I'm good for a long period of time, and I just want to help as many people as possible. So I'm always using those new businesses as case studies for people on the Smart Passive Income blog.
Yeah, and again, actually, congratulations for the mention in Forbes.
Thank you.
You were just mentioned for basically being super transparent, which a lot of people don't do and aren't willing to do. But that was a great mention there for you. So congrats on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
All right, so tell us about Lola Apps. I'm like, when did you decide? When did you decide to start building an app company on the side? And I know from your site you actually mentioned that you're not building the apps, and you're very transparent about that as well. And you're working with other outsourced developers. So what made you kind of look at the app market and think that that's another passive income route?
I mean, really, it was an experiment to see if it could get passive income for us, and it was just for fun thing. All the apps that we do are entertainment apps, silly apps, really not contributing to the world probably the way that most people would want to. But I mean, they're fun little apps. They're not gross or violent or anything like that. But in early 2009. I had seen success with my lead exam site for a few months at this moment in time, and my other friend who was working independently as a contractor was also, he's a developer, and he's really interested in mobile too at the time. And we got together and we just sat one day. I think we were flipping through websites or something, or reading magazines, and we saw this thing about iFart, the iFart app.
Yeah,
and we were just like, Joel Comm makes $1 million from a farting application. We're like, this is ridiculous. Like, how can a farting application make this much money on the iPhone? We got to check this out.
Right.
So we got together. We were like, okay. I mean, we're not going to create any farting apps, but let's see if we could just do something similar and see what happens. So that's what we did. I mean, our first application is an app that, I mean, it's not even live anymore, and I'll tell you why in a second. But it's an app where it's a picture of a soda bottle. It's a game. It's a picture of a soda bottle, and you shake it, and then if you shake it hard enough or long enough, it explodes, and then you get to the next level. And then progressively it gets harder. Then you get to a Coke bottle, then you get to the champagne bottle, which is ridiculously hard. It's like a stupid game, but it's fun. It got downloaded several thousand times. It made us quite a bit of money. But the thing that we learned right off the bat was that this was not going to be easy. I mean, we thought it was going to be easy because we had learned from Tim Ferriss and 4 Hour Workweek that, you can hire people to do things for you that you don't necessarily, A, want to do, or B, even know how to do. You can hire people to do those things for you probably faster than you could do it yourself and better. And so that's where we came in, and we were just like, okay, well, we'll just generate the ideas and we'll hand them to a developer. We actually found a developer on Elance, and we hired the cheapest developer we could find, which was a big mistake. Gosh, it took us 4 or 5 months to get this app, which is so simple to get done because we were inexperienced. We didn't know what we were doing. We just jumped into it, and we probably could have done better by listening to or watching videos just like this one or reading about it beforehand. We just kind of jumped into it. And so some of the issues we had was, we had this idea. We had a very long kind of email or kind of back and forth with this company that we hired to tell them exactly what we wanted. And so when we got the app back a month and a half later, it fit the description that we said, but it wasn't exactly how we envisioned it in our head.
Right.
So it was just totally different, but to them, it met the requirements because that's exactly what we laid out for them. And so, one, we weren't very as detailed as we should have been, and two, we learned that the best thing to do is actually draw things out. Actually storyboard your application. I mean, I have paper sitting with me all the time when I have ideas, so I can storyboard what these apps do, and so I know what button goes where. What screen goes to which, what happens when I click this, actually drawing it out. And there's actually a good mock-up software called Balsamiq.
I use that, yeah.
You do? Great.
Yeah.
Balsamiq or something like that, which is great for mocking up apps now because what happens is when you see it drawn out, you actually see where there's holes that were missing in your description, where there are opportunities for cooler things to happen, and it just makes your app a lot better. And the best part is when you hand it to a developer, and especially when you're hiring someone through like Elance or Odesk or vWorker or whatever, most of those people are overseas. And so that's why they're cheap, but they don't communicate very well. Most of them don't. And so there's that language barrier there, and pictures are universal language. So as long as you draw them out right and you tell them exactly what you want, then there's not going to be any issues. And that we learned that the hard way. So our first app, which was called iPopIt, iPopIt, and came out in I think April or May of 2009, and it did pretty well. I mean, that was still early in the life of the App Store, so we had some good exposure right away. But then we did a second application called Baby Maker, which is much more complicated. We went through a different developer, one that wasn't the cheapest, and we got it done in like 2 months. And so that one called Baby Maker. So iPopIt, I told you what that did. Baby Maker, you actually snap a photo of two people and it splices them together to create a really ugly looking face, taking parts from each parent and putting them on top of a baby's body or a baby's face. It's really ugly, and it's just funny. We got the inspiration from Conan O'Brien, and he kind of had a celebrity mashup kind of segment on his show because it was kind of hilarious. So that we built that, and that has been the most successful app that we've built. It's still in the top 100 in photography today, 3 years later.
Wow!
And it's doing really well for us. I mean, iPopIt, that died because we actually, this is a crazy story. We got a cease and desist letter from EA Sports because there was a game called like Popping Pop or something like that. That it just had the word pop in it.
Yeah.
And they totally were, just being a bully about it, and we didn't want to fight it. It wasn't worth fighting, so we just dropped it. And we actually redid it, redid all the logos and the name and everything, and now it's called Shake Shake Pop, which is a stupid name, but we couldn't think of anything else. We just wanted that keyword in there, shake and pop, and so I mean that gets like dozens of downloads a day, which is pretty good for a 4-year-old app. But I mean it's getting there. So I mean we've just come up with all these ideas. We put them out there. We see what happens, and so those were all paid apps. And then we started to get interested in free applications. And my business partner, actually, you might know him. I don't know. His name is Quackboy. He works with a guy named Michael Moon, who they are a part of an app company that recently sold their business for 7 figures. So I wish I was in that part of his business, but I was on the other kind of more entertaining. Like his apps were actually useful,
right.
And the name of that company was Free the Apps. So I don't know if you know who Free the Apps is, but they were featured on Elance and things like that. I mean, so I was really happy for him that was going well. So we started seeing potential to do free apps, not in competition with his other business, but we started to develop entertainment apps and making them free and putting advertisements on them, because we noticed a lot of businesses and developers were doing that, and just wanted to see what happened. So we wanted to just put get a really good idea, really simple idea, put it out there and see what happens. So we developed this app called Traffic Light Changer.
I was going to ask you about that.
So Traffic Light Changer cost $500 to build.
That's it?
It was $500. It was built in a week. And it's the most simple application in the world. It just has some really nice graphics, and you push a button, and some flashing lights and gizmos, gadgets kind of move around, and then a blinking light that was once red turns green, and that's it. One single page, one single screen, and that's all it does. And the kind of joke, or the kind of LOL. Laugh out louder. That's kind of where Loler came from. We just started seeing a bunch of these kinds of apps pop up, and we wanted to give our shot with it. This app got downloaded over 1 million times.
Wow.
In its lifetime. It was getting tens of thousands of downloads a day. It was ranking in number 1 and 2 for a while in the utilities category. In the free utilities category back in 2010. So it was getting a ton of exposure, and we were seeing $400-500 a day at that point from free ads. We were going through AdMob, and then we ended up later going through AdWhirl, which lets us kind of put iAds and AdMob, depending on the what do they call it, the show up rate or the fill rate.
Right.
And so just to explain the app a little bit, it sounds stupid, but it's pretty funny, because the idea is you could point the app at a traffic light if it's red and pretend to turn it green, and half the time it works just because by chance, right? Yeah. So you could either fool your friends, or you can actually time it when you see the other lights turning yellow. You could press it and fool them, and it actually works. And the funniest part about it is if you go to Traffic Light Changer and look at the reviews. Like, some people are like, "This is so amazing! Like, I can't believe this is free. I
read some of them.
It works. Oh my gosh!" And other people are like, "This is the dumbest. Like, there's no way an iPhone can have the capabilities to do this. Like, there isn't anything on streetlights that can take a Bluetooth signal and do." Like, people getting all technical about it. And then some people saying, "Dude, it's entertainment only. It says in the description it's for entertainment only." And that's been actually the funnest part, is just reading those reviews. So that's a little silly story that we have, but it's really successful. That app did really, really well for a free application. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out there and create ridiculous apps. We are kind of moving more toward higher quality entertainment apps now, as opposed to kind of the iFart kind of ridiculous ones, because I think those are starting to, a lot of people were seeing that those were working. Right. And you can kind of tell in the app market now that those are kind of just getting lost really quickly. I mean, you'll see them on day one in the new kind of new apps feature, and then they're gone. It's the apps that actually provide some sort of value, whether that's actually helping people do something or just really entertaining.
Exactly.
That's what's standing out in the app market now, and it does involve a little bit of luck. It involves a little bit of timing too. Mm-hmm. It involves some really good research too, I think, which is why we haven't come out with an app in a good 6 months, is because we're actually putting in the work now to make sure that we're giving ourselves the best chance, and we're not just, I don't even know if you want to call it just seeing if anything sticks. You know, throwing darts and seeing if any of them hit the bullseye. Now we're actually taking aim.
So I got two questions. So one, since you've launched all the previous apps, Baby Maker, Traffic Light Changer, I mean, it seems like it's been a pretty sustainable business thus far. Correct?
Yeah, it actually has. It's been, you know, at the peak, it was making about $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Wow. That was back in early 2010, when Baby Maker was at the top of photography, and a couple of the other ones were doing really well. But now it's consistently generating between $4,000 to $6,000 a month with absolutely no work whatsoever, no marketing or anything like that. And really, to be honest with you and everyone out there, it's an 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of our apps are making 80% of our income,
right?
And that's just how life is with anything. So I mean, you will need to take shots in the dark sometimes. I mean, Angry Birds wasn't Rovio's first. First application. You know, I think it was like its 50th or something, and. Right. You know, so it's going to take some research, some work, some taking chances, some risk, but then, you know, good things can happen. There was a guy named Benny Sue. I don't know if you know Benny Sue. He runs a site at getbusyliving.com. He saw what I was doing with iPhone apps, so he decided to build one himself. And that app got featured as App of the Week in iTunes. Tens of thousands of downloads a day for a paid application. I mean, you can only imagine what that was like as far as revenue. So that app is Photo 365. So basically, the premise is you take a photo every day, puts it on a really nice looking calendar. Cool. And it shows, you could see a picture of a calendar and kind of remember where you were on that day, or kind of the special things that happened on that day. So that got featured as App of the Week. And that wasn't, I mean, he even mentioned this on his blog when he shared kind of his experience with this. That wasn't the only application that did that. I mean, that wasn't the first application that did that. It wasn't a novel idea. It just took an idea that was good and just made it and packaged it into something that was much, much better, much more attractive. So much so that it got the attention of Apple. And I remember he emailed me one day. He said, "Pat, Apple emailed me and they want promo material. What does this mean?" And I was like, "I have no idea. This has never happened to me before. Something good is going to happen, I'm sure." And then the next couple of days, I saw App of the Week, and I was like, "This is so awesome." So, I mean, there are still, this is fairly recently too, so I mean, there's still room for a lot of success stories out there. I mean, we hear them all the time. It's just, like I said, it takes a little bit of luck and a lot of just taking chances.
In regards to the timing, you know, obviously releasing the app at the right time, you know, is important. How have you seen the usage of your current apps, you know, up until now? Like, are people still using Traffic Light Changer? Is it still, you know, do you track, how much of that are you even tracking?
We're tracking with the free ones. We can see the impressions through the ads, so we don't have any sort of ad software or any sort of tracking software on there. And then for our older apps like Baby Maker, and this is a really sad story actually, like Baby Maker and some of our older apps, we don't have tracking on them, and we don't have the source code anymore because my computer crashed and I didn't have backup. So I can't go back and make things. And we have some versions that are sort of not the latest versions that we can work with, and we have been doing that. Actually, our latest update for Baby Maker came out a couple months ago, which came from a really early version of the update, which we had on my friend's computer, not on my own. It's just back up your stuff. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But as far as timing, I mean, some of our newer apps, we have some software on there that is keeping track of usage. Especially, I mean, I have an app on my blog, Smart Passive Income blog, that keeps track of that stuff and usage, what pages people are clicking on, and what how much time people are spending on that application. That application is basically an iPhone app version of my blog,
right?
And that I've been really interested in that one actually. That has been providing a lot of value to people. That's a free app, but it's basically there to give people an easy way to consume my content. That's in a way that, if that's how they prefer to consume content. I mean, I know you listen and read my blog from that particular app, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool when you tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, most of the time when I'm listening to it, it's like I'm listening to it like when I'm in bed, like right before, like instead of reading a book, which sounds super awkward. But I listen to you.
You were listening to me in bed.
Sometimes I listen to you right before I go to sleep.
Oh, great! Awesome. That's how we knew to wear the exact same shirt.
Exactly.
Today.
Yeah, we're matching today. In regards to the Smart Passive Income app, like, did you outsource that to someone on Elance as well, or did you go through the exact same process?
It was actually a developer we had been working with off of Elance quite often. I mean, once you find a good developer, you really want to hold on to them.
Yeah.
And we had found this developer on Elance, and he was great, so we had him do a lot of the other stuff. And then I just asked him on the side, this is, because Lola Apps is a separate business entity than what I have going on with Smart Passive Income Blog and all those other things. I asked him, can I hire you to create an app for me? And then he was like, yeah, sure, but he was actually very honest. He's like, there's actually, you can go to like, Mobile Roadie, I think it is.
Yep.
You can go to AppMaker, AppMakr, and you can even get an app through Libsyn. I mean, you have a podcast, you can create an app for your podcast through Libsyn.com, which is actually where I host my podcast. And I was like, you know what? Those are great free options, or, Mobile Roadie I think costs a little bit of money, but I needed to do specific things. So that's why I hired him for actually about $1,500 to create that app for me. So it wasn't very much at all.
Wow.
And so that app, if you go download it, you can read my blog, you can share and tweet and like and do everything social media-wise on those specific posts. There's another tab where you can read my Twitter feed and see who I'm chatting with, see what conversations are going on. You can actually join in on the conversations too. They link up to your Twitter account. You can listen to my podcast. You can leave ratings to my podcast on there, which is something that a lot of the other apps couldn't do. You can read the show notes to my podcast while listening to the podcast. You can have the podcast going on in the background, right, which is important. And then I have a special page on the app, a special tab, which kind of links to, or I can control what's on that page through a WordPress blog, or through a WordPress blog, through a specific page on my WordPress blog. So I don't have to continually update the application in order to update that page. I just control it through a WordPress page, and then it updates that page automatically. So if I have any special announcements, like I have this book I'm writing right now, when I announce that book, I'm going to update that particular page in the app. So if anyone who stumbles upon that, they'll see, oh, well, Pat came out with a book, that's cool. And I don't have to come out with, keep consistently coming out with new versions, yet it keeps the app different every time someone logs in, which I think is really cool.
How and the book's about you frequently talk about being everywhere, right? And that's kind of something I've been known for. I did a presentation in LA at Blog World Expo last year called How to Be Everywhere, meaning not just putting yourself on different platforms. I mean, when you create a website or you just have kind of one platform, that the only people who consume that kind of content are the only people who are going to find you. There's so many people out there who want to find you, who want to consume your content or buy your product. You just have to put yourself in those places where they are already looking for people or products or articles or whatever, just like yours. And so I'm not just on my blog, but I have my podcast, I have my YouTube videos, and I'm featured a lot on other blogs too. So this book is about how to be everywhere, kind of physically or virtually, I guess, so that other people can find you no matter if they like to read your content, to view your content, or to read your content, to watch videos, or to listen to it. But also what happens is that if you take that approach, you're going to be seen as an expert more so than another person who's just writing a blog. You're not a blogger, but you have this whole brand, and no matter how people want to consume your content, they can go through an iPhone app, they can go through video, podcasts, or whatever. They're going to be there, and you're going to kind of inject yourselves into their lives as a part of their daily routine almost, so that when you do come up in conversation, or so whenever your particular industry comes up in a conversation with a friend, they're going to mention you, right? And then you'll be shared, and that's how you become everywhere. It's not just being on those different places, but it's being there, being remembered, giving them something to talk about, and being shared, and getting people back into that cycle where they find you, they remember you, and they share you. And it's kind of just this whole cycle that kind of explodes, and that what explodes your brand, and that's kind of what my book's about. So awesome. Yeah, I've been following along on Facebook with that. And I mean, when it comes to your community, the last time you checked, I mean, how many times has the Smart Passive Income blog or app been downloaded, or are people engaging with that content? Do you see it shifting at all recently?
No, actually, yeah, a little bit actually, more and more. I mean, in the beginning when I launched it, obviously there was a lot of people that downloaded it, and then it went way down, and then now it's starting to slowly creep back up because I think everyone's on mobile these days, and everyone is looking for easier ways to consume content on the go, which is why I think this app for whatever brand you have is very important. I mean, a lot of the big brands have it. You know, Amazon has their own app. You know, Bank of America has their own app. I mean, follow what those big guys are doing, because they know, they've done the research. They've spent millions of dollars to know that that's exactly what you should be doing. So follow their lead. I mean, someone told me that if you want to start a brick and mortar business, just find out exactly where Starbucks is opening up, because they've done the research already. So that's kind of what you're doing there.
Right. That's interesting.
But yeah, but yeah, I'd love that tip. But you know, I think it's been a total of 35,000 people have downloaded the application.
Wow.
And I have about 50,000 subscribers, and
that's
just about that's.
Is that email subscribers or?
That's just all subscribers.
Oh.
So anyone who's following my blog, there's like 50,000 people, and so 35,000 is a good chunk of that. And you know, they don't all open the app every day. I get maybe a 10 to 15% usage out of it, but that's a significant amount. And who knows if those people who, if they didn't have that app, maybe they wouldn't read my content at all. I mean, I don't know if you would even read my content if it wasn't, or it'd be at least a little bit more inconvenient for you to do so. You wouldn't be able to, sit in bed with me anymore. But yeah, I think just keep your eye open on what's going on with mobile. I mean, it's becoming so. I mean, just all the big guys are doing it, all the big brands are doing it, and that's just a huge sign to me that's where everything's going. I mean, I can't wait for the iPhone 5 to come out, not only because the home button on my iPhone 4 is broken, but because it's just so many more people are going to be on mobile now. I mean, some people are just waiting for this to finally get an iPhone and start to, view the web on the go. It's crazy.
So what's kind of your future plan with Loler? You said that you've been doing some research. Can you talk about when you're doing that research, what are you exactly looking for? For those people that might be interested in building an app and possibly building some sort of passive income via app creation.
Right. Kind of the biggest thing that we've learned, and actually I've learned through interviews with people who have done successful iPhone applications on my podcast. I have a few specific podcast interviews with people who have making 5 figures a month from podcasts, and one of them, it was Mike Doonan, who him and his wife created an app to help kids with speech therapy, and he has a line of apps with a specific cartoon character, and he's making tens of thousands of dollars a month from that, and that's that's such an amazing story, actually providing value.
Right.
And the reason that was so successful is because him and his wife knew that there was an audience that was looking for something like this, or that there was a specific audience that they could already tap into, that they didn't need to absolutely rely on the rankings in iTunes, which is what most people talk about. Buy ads and do everything on day one so you get really quickly and get exposure. I mean, they didn't even do that. They had a community already that could do that for them, and then as a result, they got in the top rankings for legitimate reasons, not just buying stuff. We've done the whole thing where you kind of buy ads and ad mobs to try and get your app ranking high, and it does work. But then, how long does it stay there? Once you stop putting those ads out, you start to see it trickle down. But if you have a community, they're going to be behind it. They're going to share it with other people in that community, and that's what's going to help it spread even more. So for us, we've been trying to understand where, kind of from an entertainment point of view, kind of where our audience is, and that's really hard to do in the entertainment kind of app world, because entertainment's kind of worldwide. So we're picking a specific kind of niche to tap into, and actually we're going to be going. I haven't told this to anyone yet, but I'll share it with you. But I can't tell you exactly what the app does yet. But the kind of niche market that we're going to look at are YouTube stars, and tapping into those audiences, the audiences of people who are popular on YouTube, either I don't know if you know Kev Jumba is, or those types of people who have really popular YouTube channels. They're just kids, they're just kids that have a huge following who are making tons of money through Google AdSense on YouTube, which is amazing, and I'm so happy for them. But there are specific audiences that know those types of people and can kind of come together and as a community, and that's kind of what we're tapping into right now. And so we're actually providing something for them, as opposed to just, here's an app, let's see what happens.
Right. So kind of taking from that last comment, how do you see, I follow people like yourself, I said Derek Halpern, Marie Forleo, a lot of the online marketers that I guess are kind of related to, your community, I would say. I mean, I feel like you guys all mention each other. How do you see kind of mobile, whether it's apps or whatnot, becoming a more and more important part of, the smart passive income, business? And how does that play into, Marie Forleo, who has like a huge, YouTube channel and things like that? Like, how do you see potentially it shifting your business?
Well, I think what apps are going to do for people who have a community and a kind of a following already, like people like Corbett Barr on ThinkTraffic.net or Derek Halpern or Marie Forleo, is it's going to provide another way for people to consume your content. Like I mentioned earlier, not everyone is going to, just giving people another opportunity to consume you and enter yourselves in their lives. When people are on the go, you can actually be everywhere. When they're listening to you or watching you, Marie Forleo would have I can envision an app with just tons of videos and some extra cool content on there, almost like a product, But another way to keep in contact, or at least kind of see the content that's being produced without having to be in front of a computer, without having to necessarily subscribe to anything, but having it, having notifications come into your, how awesome would it be if you, and this is something that I'm going to be working into another version of the app, because my app doesn't do this yet, but I absolutely think everyone should, especially if you have 35,000 people, who have downloaded this app. Whenever you come out with a new post or maybe a new special message on that push notification, I mean, that is, I would say that's even more powerful than an email. Yeah. With email, you see an email come in and you can't not answer it. But now lately, I mean, people pile up their emails and stuff like that. But when you get a notification, it's like a text message. You have to know who it's from and what it's for. And again, big brands are doing this. I have the USA Today application. Whenever a really important news article comes out, or the Dow decides to drop 400 points, I get notified. I get notified. There's another app, Stitcher app. Stitcher tells me when a particular news article comes out, or unfortunately, a celebrity dies, and then I get a little 50-second audio clip about what happened, right away. And I think when those notifications come in, I mean, that's like people stop what they're doing. I mean, how powerful is that, to stop what people are already doing and having them go to you to find out exactly where you're doing. It's just it's so powerful. I mean, mobile is giving us huge opportunities here. I mean, for a while, when you think of how advertising was done, it was through interruption marketing, where your people were just throwing up ads all the time, like just trying to get into your face, even if you weren't even interested in that particular product to begin with. They just showed it in front of you so many times, so that, I don't know, subconsciously maybe you would go to that restaurant or something. I don't know. But now it's like people choose who they want to get content from, or who they want to be notified by. And if people, if people give you permission to do that, then absolutely, when you give them an interruption, it's not going to seem like an interruption anymore. It's going to seem like, I gotta go see what he's talking about, or oh, thank God, finally something new came from this person who I gave permission to talk to me about. It's just dramatically changing how we do business. And I think for people with communities, that's going to be really, it's going to be a really important way, because everyone's on mobile now, like we were saying. So I think it would be stupid not to get into it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think even I think we talked earlier. I'm not sure if we were recording yet, but ThinkTraffic, the redesign where it's now responsive, and
so awesome
for everyone that kind of talks about. I mean, like, everyone talks about, build email list. You've done plenty of podcasts about how to, generate subscribers, and, focusing on, building that database. That, I mean, how many people, I mean, I read most of your email newsletters, Halpern's newsletters, all from my phone. And, obviously they're linking to the content. They want to get you to the blog, and then you're clicking on the link and, not having a mobile friendly experience. I think, at least for the importance of, making sure that you're everywhere and stuff like that, having that, mobile optimized web experience is important. I think the app kind of, you can tap into new features and stuff, just because apps can do some things, and tap into features of the phone that obviously the mobile web can't. But I mean,
how awesome would it be for an application that you have for your brand that had a recording device that people could record testimonials into, and then it gets automatically uploaded into a page on your site of other people leaving testimonials that just gets populated. I mean, I'm going to go do that right now.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, that's a really good idea. So hopefully, hopefully you got a few ideas out of this one. So kind of in wrapping a couple things up. You also recently have started a media company, right? You did some social media for Crooked Arrows.
Yeah. Actually, through my podcast, a couple of Hollywood producers found me and said, "Hey, can you do some work on this movie we're working on?" And at first, I was like, "You know what? No, I mean that's not very passive, and I kind of enjoy the things I'm doing now." But they're like, "Okay, this is Hollywood. Okay, $10 million budget movie. What can we do to have you on?" And I was like, I'm interested in Hollywood. I've always wanted to be in a movie. Is there any way I can be on set and be in the movie?" And they're like, "Let's do it. You can come on as an extra." And I was like, "Sweet, this is awesome." So I got to go to Boston in August last year when they were filming. It's a lacrosse movie called Crooked Arrows, an independent movie. It did really well on a per theater revenue basis. You know, it's independent, so it didn't have as much funds to get out into every theater like the Hunger Games. But on a per theater basis, it did really well. They were very satisfied with the work that I did for them. I helped grow their Facebook page from 6,000 to 130,000. I created their website and that whole thing. And I created an email list for them. They're like, "What? We could do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then they hired me for another movie, actually, because I've enjoyed the process so much, and I guess they liked the work I did. And what actually happened is they filmed at a hotel here in San Diego, in downtown San Diego, that kind of has a French feel, like Monte Carlo, because that's where the setting of the movie is. They filmed, and they invited me to come by and meet the cast. And one of the cast members is Jason Alexander. So if you actually go to my Facebook page, I have a picture with my arm around Jason Alexander, George Costanza from Seinfeld. Yeah. And then they actually put me in a bellhop uniform to be an extra on the set. And so what was cool is that I wasn't just standing there. Like, I actually interacted with one of the actors during a scene. I was trying to take her bag, and she said, "No, don't take it," because there was a gun inside. So I actually got to be in the movie, and so that's pretty cool. I don't know if I'll get a credit as an actor in IMDb, but I actually am in IMDb as a social media director for a couple movies now.
Nice. I love that. I love that when they asked you what could they do to get you to help, you're like, "Can I just be in the movie?" Versus like, "Okay, well, it's going to cost this much." You're like, "I just want to be in the movie."
No, I'm so fortunate to be making good income, right? And just really glad. I don't need more money right now. I want to experience as many awesome things as possible and help as many people as possible, and that's what my goal is in daily life. And I've just found that my business model, the more people I help, the more money I get back. It's just awesome.
With Crooked Arrows, or even with any of the other movies that you're getting involved in, you mentioned you built a website. How much of that are you actually doing, or is that kind of like your strategic guidance, and you're working with some of their team, or are you getting like a budget to go have someone build a website, or?
I have a VA, a web developer who I use for whatever projects I want to work on, and I used him to build the website. I designed it because I come from an architecture background. I know websites and stuff like that. And so I designed the Crooked Arrows website and on Photoshop, and then I sent it to my developer to slice and dice and put into a WordPress theme. Nice. And it worked out really well. So I did the same thing for this other movie I'm working on. And actually for Crooked Arrows, I don't even know if you know, I helped develop an iPhone app for Crooked Arrows.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that. I'm a huge lacrosse fan and have yet to see the movie. I need to.
Oh, really?
See
it's coming out on DVD soon, so we're actually working on that campaign right now. But the application, you can actually take a picture of yourself and then drag and drop lacrosse equipment onto your face. Like, you can put yourself in a helmet. You can take a picture of yourself like this, and you'd be holding a stick, or you can put a ball. You can put a ball with a little flame coming out behind it. You can put some flow on you, like hair. And just really cool things like that. A free app just to promote the movie, but it's been downloaded several thousand times, and we can see on Twitter. I actually have it open right now, my TweetDeck. We have it set up so people can share those pictures, and I have it set up on TweetDeck where I can see when people post those pictures, and they come in every day. So it's pretty cool to see that people are actually using it. People are taking pictures of their kids in the same uniform that the movie is in, and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome.
How do you see? As you start possibly expanding some of that work with other movies. Obviously you've already looked at doing an app for Crooked Arrows. How are you going to look to try to integrate mobile more into kind of their outreach?
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely It would be stupid not to, I think, especially with all the stuff we've talked about today and the capabilities that there are out there to let people know about what's going on, or, you know, leave reviews or whatever. I mean, it's just so important now, especially with a movie like Crooked Arrows, which is like primarily for kids between the age of 13 and 17 who all have phones and who are all on phones all the time and who do nothing but share. So that had a lot to do with our success. But I think in the future, definitely any movie should have an iPhone app with it, or an iPhone and Android app and an iPad app and just everything. I mean, it's not that hard to kind of repurpose that stuff.
Yeah. So kind of in closing, what kind of advice do you have, you know, lessons learned that you could kind of pass on to others as they potentially dive into creating an app, whether it's for their blog in their own community or as a part of a business?
Right. Great question. I think the most important thing is to find that community and understand exactly what their wants are, their problems, their pains and desires are, and what you can do to help them. And I'm talking about a business model totally different than my entertainment thing, because that's really difficult. I mean, we got lucky that we got in the App Store with Baby Maker really early, and it's still there. But, you know, truly, I think more fulfillment and more income is possible through generating these kind of niche applications that serve a specific community, and actually talking to them, you know, talking to people in that community, asking them, hey, so what would you love to have on your phone that about this that you can't get anywhere, or that you don't have right now?
Right.
You know, what is it? If you could develop, or if you could just turn on your phone right now and there's an application there that is the perfect application for you in regards to whatever, you know, your business or this niche or this problem that you're having, whatever, what would that app do? I mean, you get so much information from questions like that. And then you can just start developing your app. And, you know, you could even, you know, a lot of people, and I learned this from Dane Maxwell, who I actually have on my podcast today. He helps people build software applications to help people in different industries solve a specific problem or pain, whether that software is an iPhone app or an iPad app or just a web application. He's actually had a number of students of his create successful iPhone applications by figuring out what the problems are in specific niches and specific industries, and developing solutions for those problems with an application. And then actually getting those apps paid for by companies and people who would use them.
Yeah.
You know, giving them, and his business model is great because he creates software as a service. So if you you know, this is another thing you could potentially think about, is how can a person in a particular industry use their iPhone as a service, something that they would be glad to use, that is helping them do something that maybe they do a lot during the day that would make it easier for them to do that, or something that they can't do yet unless they have the iPhone, because iPhone has that capability, and then charging a monthly fee to actually use that. And then if you know, it would make sense to do that if this problem that you're solving is taking that much more money away from that person. So just there's so many possibilities out there. Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just putting in the work and the due diligence in the front end to find something to build a solution that can work.
Right. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, hopefully you had a good time.
Yeah, I did. It was fun. I don't ever talk about apps in my interviews, so this is really refreshing. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Anytime. Anytime you want to talk mobile, let me know. You guys heard it. Pat has been making money building apps. He's integrating pretty much mobile into, you know, premiere movies. And soon into his own business. Updates coming soon with the Smart Passive Income app. So stay tuned for that stuff. Obviously, we can find you at Smart Passive Income. Are there any other kind of shameless plugs, any places people should go find you that, you know, if they want to connect?
Yeah, probably the only one I'm going to mention is just go to patonfacebook.com. That'll redirect you to my Facebook page, and come say hi. Let me know that you enjoyed the interview, and I promise I will say hi back.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Hi, Greg. Thanks.
Right. Bye-bye.